So I write memory from the margins of history, in the shadow of empire and the frontier of silence. M. Norbies Philip. Earlier this week, I wrote an article for a journal called The Droth, which means the first, which will be out early next year, and I called it Composition in 7 Parts, on navigations, misrecognitions, organisational structures, and performance of my body as a site of questions. It was really an attempt to think about performance, performativity, thinking about how I compose thoughts, and asking questions and thinking about place. So for today, I'm going to use a kind of similar, it's a kind of compositional presentation, which is going to take the form of a ritual and a reflection on place, on circles, on making space, and what we owe each other. So there are going to be like ritual parts where I'm going to invite you to speak with me, and I'm also going to offer something for you to reflect on when you leave this event. And before I kind of begin, I want to dedicate this and invoke 3 friends that I lost last year, all of them artists, all of them advocates for communities, all of them gone too soon. So this is for Khadija Say, for John Daniel, and for Damien Labasse. I am here because of you. I'd also like to evoke the people that have been labelled the Windrush generation and others from former colonies that all came here by invitation. To one of them, I'd like to quote from my recent performance, The Declaration of Independence. The process of making is enacting my presence, the hard navigations of presences, absences, visibility, invisibility, navigating, finding roots, arranging traces of memory from archives that will never be constituted, entering spaces without invitation, or spaces that have antagonistic or conditional invitations, time-limited invitations, invitations by special arrangement, presence as a performance of a certain kind of sociability that explains a connection but keeps you outside, always arriving, never settled. And lastly, before I really start, there's a person that lives in, well, there's a poster that lives in my studio, and his smile is either saying to me, you go girl, or really, are you doing that? So I'd like to invoke James Baldwin. Hold on one second. The sound isn't properly working. Oops. Tech. I hate technology. So, have we got the sound on for the video? Yeah. Right. Oh, it's not playing. Let me just escape.
Yeah, you can't. This is yours and it's dodgy.
Okay, they didn't set up the text properly.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll try it.
I'll tell you a story, if I may. Many years ago, when I first came to London, I was in the British Museum, naturally, and one of the West Indians who worked there struck up a conversation with me and wanted to know where I was from. And I told him I was from Holland. And that answer didn't satisfy him. And I didn't understand what he meant. I was born in Holland.
I was born in Harlem Hospital, I said. I was born in New York. None of these answers satisfied him. He said, where was your mother born? And I said, she was born in Maryland. And I could see, but I didn't understand it, that he was growing more and more disgusted with me. And so he became more and more impatient. Where was your father born? My father was born in New Orleans. Yes, he said, but man, where were you born? And I began to get it. I said, well, my mother was born in Maryland and my father was born in New Orleans. And I was born in New York. And he said, but where were you born before that? And I said, well, I don't know. And I could see that he did not believe me. And I tried to explain, There was no way for me to know. He said, "Don't you care enough to find out?" And I tried to explain, if I were originally from Dakar or from wherever it was in Africa, I couldn't find out.
Where it was, because my entry into America is a bill of sale. And that stops you from going any further. At some point in our history, I became
Baldwin's nigger.
Baldwin's nigger.
That's how I got my name.
But what if it doesn't stop there? What if that's just the beginning? A walk in Zurich, 2016. Start point, all records. We listened to a chant for Elegua, the beginning and the opening and the closing. A walk to water, towards the Gold Coast. Like Baldwin, I am a stranger trying to locate myself in Switzerland. A connection with the sea, the distances created. Barbara means stranger, foreign or strange, from the Greek barbarous. Traveller from a foreign land, an invitation to our ancestors to walk with us in the streets of Zurich. Grandmothers, grandfathers, uncles, aunts, mothers, fathers, sisters, intellectual ancestors, ancestors known and unknown, a desire to get to know them. We walk to Helvetia and we reread Baldwin's text written in Birmingham, and that stops you from going any further. At some point in the world's history, I became Powell's nigger. That's how I got my name. A card is picked and we walk again. Who is Powell? Enoch Powell. He made the infamous Rivers of Blood speech in 1968. Why do we evoke our ancestors? How far back do we have to go? Suppose we don't want to walk with them. Suppose I find my ancestor is a colonizer. I don't want to know that. Over the bridge, we stop at the stock exchange. We listen to Lord Kitchener, the birth of Ghana. Independence, hope, excitement, a belief in the possibility of self-determination, a meeting, a romance, a coup, a departure, a migration, an arrival, a family, a rejection, an antagonism, a desire to belong. Children, please do better than we did. That was the wish. But people died, and homes were lost, and people remained in poverty, and people continued to be hated. And the city screams. The city screams. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. I am here because of you. We are here because you were there. Please say this with me. You can say it better. That's right. Thank you. And I am here because of you. So the idea of refusal excites me. Refusing to accept the given narratives, refusing to be what you expect me to be, refusal to know my place and to accept your place, refusal to be your token, to question everything, including ourselves and our actions and our intentions. So the title of Sorry You Feel Uncomfortable's exhibition, I just should say, Sorry You Feel Uncomfortable is a collective that was born out of the project that I'm talking about Baldwin's Nigger Reloaded, with my buddy here and collaborator Teresa Cisneros. And they're doing their most wonderful stuff, and they have an exhibition at many studios, which is called But What Are You Doing About White Supremacy? It's an incredible question to pose to the art world at the moment of an international festival, a celebration of all things art, a political intervention for our times, the ultimate question for our times. Baldwin again. Alas, the party's over. The question is, what should we do? Everyone knows that question. It's in everybody's lap. From Washington to London and beyond. Everyone knows it. We're trying to figure out what to do. We should figure out what to do. But how do we organize for this political moment? How do we think about new systems of art making, organization, building, political agency, coalition, collaboration, sharing, creating, and imagining together? In the conditions that we are now in, how do we work together? How do we listen to each other? How do we create and imagine together? How do we care, transform, heal, and envision? I'd like to take a moment to think about circles and rituals and openings and closings and why they're important and why we should open space and close space and think about how we make space, create space, take up space. And I've been thinking a lot about how we set up space. How do we see each other and work with each other in spaces? So a couple of days ago, I was actually in what could be seen as a circle, which was brought together by the Women of Colour Index, or Waki Reading Group, and Karen Salt, who's a wonderful thinker, and a wonderful group of women and non-binary people. And I found this resource online about circles, and I just want to kind of think about it with you a bit. So circles draw on long-time rituals of cultures and communities that provide space to open fresh possibilities for connections, collaboration, and understanding. Circles can hold people's tensions and emotions and contribute to the healing and can support people to use collective energy to take action. The process is not about changing others, but rather acts as an invitation to change one's relationship with oneself, to the community, and wider universe. The result is trust, strong relationships, and the ability to work together to advance social justice communities. Outcome, to develop and hold relational trust and reciprocity by reflecting on the self and use circle time to connect to the reflections of others. Circles tap into ancient practices and modern processes to create trust, goodwill, belonging, reciprocity. They offer us ways of being together, and then they can transform relationships. They create and honor voices that are held sacred. They create safety and trust. They create the opportunity for people to share power. They can facilitate an open and honest dialogue about important issues. And we know that we all need to be able to speak about important issues that are facing the communities right now. They help to foster new relationships and open up honest comments about the issues that fail to work, and allow us to also be present to pain and dissonance. This is not exactly a circle, but I do want to have a bit of space for a circle. And I want to just think about giving, I've probably not got a lot of time, so maybe 3 people a moment. I have a mic here to kind of contribute something to this space and this ritual now, because I am here because of you. Does anyone want to comment? say what you need to say.
Hello. What is anything specific?
Well, it's a contribution to our kind of circle and ritual here to say something. Something that you want to say to other people, to the people to comment on.
I don't know. I think I want to ask everyone to imagine you're in a most dream in your head, and imagine that it's realized till the end of today evening.
Thank you. Someone else? Come on. I could choose people. But that's not the spirit of circle.
I'd like to contribute the idea that we have to persist in decentering whiteness and to keep dreaming about Black liberation.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's more a question to the person who just spoke. Thinking about whiteness, do you mean whiteness as a perceived norm by decentering?
I so don't want to...
I think it's not really a time for questions, it's a time for circle.
Yeah.
It's being able to speak honestly about something that you actually feel. And if you have something that would be... Okay. So before I take a moment to make my closing proposition, I'm going to put up a slide. This is something that I've been thinking about a lot. So I mentioned Khadija Say, and since last year, since she died, as many of you know, we lost her. And her mother and several of her neighbours on June 14th, 2007, in the Grenfell Tower fire. So exactly this day, last year, my fellow artists and curators and other friends from the Diaspora Pavilion in Venice, we gathered together at the Palazzo Santa Marina to toast the success and celebrate this wonderful opening in Venice. So what I would really like to do is actually read this with you. So I'm going to do it African style, call and response, okay? So I'm going to read a line, and then I want you to all be able to kind of say it back with me, okay? In the clear critical light of day, illusionary administrators whisper of our need for institutions. And all institutions are political. And all politics is correctional. So it seems we need correctional institutions in the common. Settling it. Correcting us. But we won't stand corrected. Moreover, incorrect as we are, there is nothing wrong with us. We don't want to be correct. And we won't be corrected. Politics proposes to make us better. But we're already good. We are good already, in the mutual debt that can never be made good. We owe it to each other to falsify the institution. To make politics incorrect. To give the lie to our own determination. We owe each other the indeterminate. We owe each other everything. Thank you to Fred Moten and Stefano Hani for writing that. So before I leave you, I've got a couple of things to leave you with. I want you to, I'm going to borrow from this wonderful artist, Camille Barton, that I was working with yesterday. And I'm kind of adapting one of the exercises that we shared. But I want to ask you to kind of maybe think about, maybe once or twice a day, this is kind of an interesting thing. Take a moment to look at someone and remember that they have been hurt, that they may have suffered from oppression because of systematic racism, class or gender disparities. They may have been discriminated against because of their sexuality, their gender identity or disability, visible or invisible. They want to be loved. They have been sad. They have a beautiful smile, and they want to be free, whatever that means to them. Freedom is a constant struggle. Just take a moment to remember that we owe each other the indeterminate, and we owe each other everything. Sound again.
They're getting ready now, man. Is everything cool? I'm gonna leave you now and let you have a tremendous happening. Solid, fellas. Hey, the voices of East Harlem. The voices of East Harlem, fellas.
And you are all free to get up and move if you need to. You don't have to wait till Ian gets on, just get warmed up.